I think, I completely agree with my panelist who was talking before me and saying we've not done enough. But, we've been plagued with this problem for the last 70 odd years. We've been facing it and, and engaging with it. Problem is, the rest of the world has just woken up to it in the last few decades. And that is something which, if I don't use the words in that sense, but what I mean, they've come late to the party. So they've not understood the level that India, a country like India, has had to deal with. It's not only about Kashmir. I come from Punjab and Haryana. We faced very difficult situation in the frontier state of Punjab and Haryana with the terrorism over being brought in again by cross-border actors over there, and the state actors and non-state actors in these definitions which have kept on evolving. The problem is the world, and if I may be a little broad in my macro, in my perspective, is realizing that the problem has come to their doorstep now. And till as long as it was a problem and an Indian problem, it did not affect a lot of countries and a lot of parts of the world intrinsically. It was India's problem and India had to deal with it. And India dealt with it. Now the same problem is knocking at their door. And when that is happening, they are actually realizing the size and the scale of what it means, what terrorism will bring on as a security threat in the last 20 odd years. And the whole world starts seeing effects and impact of that. The problem is, it's not about traditional warfare or terrorism in the traditional sense. Terrorism has multiple manifestations. It is the three of them that my colleague spoke about before this, my panelist spoke about before this, but more importantly, we are standing at a cusp of technology today. And I think today, with the advent of AI and the use case of AI, which is the single most important scientific invention from the time of splitting of the atom. That's how important it is. We have to also understand what terrorism will mean and what manifestations can it come back to us at. It's not only in the traditional sense that as we've known it. It's not only about having acts of violence or limited to it. It can actually go in a very different direction and be much larger than what we've ever seen in the past. That is the power of AI, and especially with the journey from AI to AGI, in whatever time frame we will travel to it. So there are good use cases for it, of course, and there are negative ones as well. But having said that, I think India has, in many ways, been able to address the problem. When the Prime Minister of India talks of a developed country by 2047, the fundamental premise is providing security as a foundation, because you only grow if you're a secure nation. Let me give you a statistic. From the period of 2004 to 14, there were approximately 7,227 terrorist attacks in that 10-year period in India. From the period from 2014 to 24, there were only 2,272 terrorist attacks, which is a fall of almost 68 to 69%, which is still a lot, but it's a huge deviation from what was the case earlier. What has India done in the last 10 years or 11 years? India has gotten its act right. We definitely have improved our information system, our intelligence system. But please do understand that we are a very diverse and a very large country with multiple ethnicities and multiple porous borders and a whole plethora of problems. But in spite of that, India has been able to show the political will that if you will cross the line, we will come after you. And that is something which was a miss. I mean, we did not do that and show that after 26/11. We did not do that and show that whenever we were pushed against the wall, whenever we were challenged in the past. This is a different India. This is an India under Modi, Prime Minister Modi, who has fundamentally created a simple premise that if you will cross the limit, we will retaliate. And you will have to pay the cost. Now, I do agree that there has to be a minimum program of a definition of a terrorist. And I'd like to share this with you because this was an instance which, what you were referring to the IRA earlier. And there's a huge dichotomy, not only in foreign governments, but foreign media as well. So I'll give you an example. When it came to the terrorists in Kashmir, they were labeled, not only freedom fighters, they were given an exact reference, and they were called separatists.
Separatists.
So the BBC in the UK only calls them separatists, right? And I was having a conversation with one of their senior members and their directors, since we had a relationship, working relationship in my networks together. And we had a fallout on a particular editorial issue. And, uh, and then, when I put it to them, because I was in England for about 8 years, and I could see the difference of opinion. So it was not only in political class, but in the media as well. So when it came to the IRA, they called them terrorists. But when it comes to the terrorists in Kashmir, they call them separatists. What is good for the goose has to be good for the gander. There can't be a difference between both of them. And that is the fundamental premise which the world needs to clock in on what is the definition of a terrorist. What does terrorism mean? If we can't agree on that, then yes, one man's terrorist will be one man's hero or a freedom fighter. But that cannot be the case for humanity, because we've come to that inflection point where if we don't decide that, we are on the losing side. It's a real problem. It's a problem for the entire world. It's not an India problem anymore. India has been able to, take up the task and has managed with its ability to respond, and that's only comes out of the sheer political will. There's nothing else that has really changed in the last 11 years except the political will to respond to it in kind. And I think we need greater cooperation, greater definition of a common minimum program of what terrorism means. I mean, you don't need more evidence about Pakistan after Osama bin Laden was found there, that Pakistan is a terrorist rogue nation. But if the IMF keeps on going and funding it for survival, I guess that's something which the world needs to stand up and take notice of. What is it that you're doing? Are you funding a rogue nation, a terrorist nation, which is essentially responsible for hiding one of the biggest terrorists of our times, and was found there? So I mean, if we don't call out the people who are responsible for it at a global, minimum common program, I don't think we'll be able to tackle the problem of terrorism as a global problem. I mean, we can fend for ourselves, but we need to fend for humanity now. That's all I have. Thank you.